That's what I am. I'm a New Orleans fan. All right, Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky.
Hey, the Eagles fans are deep.
How you guys doing out there? That's what I thought. I love it. All right, we got a lot to get to, including game picks. We're going to pick the Super Bowl coming up later on in the show. But, Mina, as we look at Mahomes and the game plan for Kansas City this week, what do you expect it to look like?
I expect them to use a lot of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, and I think the Eagles will match that with nickel, which is what they normally do, just a couple of linebackers. So if that happens, as I anticipate, what I'm curious is, one, can Kansas City take advantage of the size discrepancy to run the football? And that's not just about Isaiah Pacheco. That's about Patrick Mahomes. Last week, he was the most efficient runner. I think about the touchdown where they were in the full house formation with the 2 tight ends.
Early downs.
That was against Buffalo's nickel. That's the kind of thing you're going to see in this game. And then the other thing I think, again, if you get that personnel matchup, is whether the Chiefs can use their tight ends to attack the Eagles' linebackers and safeties. This was something you saw in the NFC Championship. That offense ran through Zach Ertz. They had him lined up tight to the formation, inside bunches, trying to get him on Zach Bond and Reed Blankenship. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, to your point, MK, what's your plan for Patrick Mahomes on third down? And the improvisational skills that he has, along with Travis Kelce, but more importantly, his legs. Y'all know I talk about this every playoffs. This is a critical down game. That's what it's going to come down to. Who makes the plays in critical downs? Who goes above and beyond the X's and O's? And a superstar makes a play on a critical third down. Defensively, you just have to be so attached to Patrick Mahomes. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles, especially with Vic Fangio, who likes to keep everything in front of him, probably will serve them better not to get too overly aggressive on Pat Mahomes on third down and think more coverage and less scatter to the football if he decides to take off.
Yeah, and I think utilizing the middle of the field will be huge for the Kansas City Chiefs, and not only in using Travis Kelce, but if you could get some of the wide receivers involved, as we saw last week against the Buffalo Bills. Here you see this motion by Xavier Worthy, which indicates man as Tyron Johnson runs over to be the nickel and press coverage. Now you're going to see Travis Kelce can locate it exactly where Johnson is, even evade him, but make him bubble over the top. And when you have someone like Xavier Worthy and you give him this sort of space to the field with that sort of acceleration, he can create a big play out of a short crosser. Now here, you're going to see a way that they attack the blitz. And we watched a sack against the Los Angeles Rams where they brought 6 from the Philadelphia Eagles, but they vacated the middle of the field. Juju Smith-Schuster is going to work inside right off of the release. Patrick Mahomes puts the football on his back shoulder, which allows him to rotate out of the tackle and get yards after the catch. If they can utilize the middle of the field and make the Philadelphia Eagles either match in that zone or play man-to-man, yards after the catch are going to be huge this week. You have a team offensively that lives and feeds off of it, and a team defensively in Philadelphia that doesn't give up a lot of yardage.
Yeah, it's a fascinating matchup. Marcus mentioned not being overly aggressive if you're Philadelphia's defense. How would you approach it with what RC just showed, all the things they can do?
Well, from an offensive perspective, you watch Philly's defense, and you're always trying to find out, is there something schematically you could take advantage of, or if there's a human you can? The answer is no for both, and that's the concern if you're Kansas City's offense. We know, one, they love the perimeter stuff. We'll call it the RPO. I just think Philly defends the RPO so well, leverage-wise. They do such a good job of getting on the outside, and then the run element of the RPO. Like, they do a fantastic job of playing gap sound, taking on a double team, the flow over the top, where you don't feel great either way if you're Kansas City throwing it or running it. And the second thing, they want to get chunks in their pass game. I have found that this is the most communicating secondary in the NFL, where the way that they'll kick their coverage, the way that they'll understand how teams are trying to attack that zone defense. And I think if you're Kansas City, while you love your RPO game, you got to respect how well Philly defends it. And when you try to create your chunk passing game, the way that they pass things off is such a challenge for an offense, because for times you're like, oh, it's going to be there. Then you're like, no, they collapsed it. And that's a challenge.
The other thing is, though, Dan, they see this the entire offseason. You see,
they know their weakness
in training camp. When you're playing a football team that has an offense that mirrors a lot of things that other people do in the RPO game, the chunk game, you get used to communicating.
You're saying they see it from their own offense.
Absolutely,
so much.
absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes those matchups, good on good in practice, can end up getting you to this point in the season. We'll be on this game all show long, obviously. But time now. A top story is presented by Lay's. And we turn our attention to the NFL honors last night, where Josh Allen took home the MVP award. Big moment for Josh. Now, with Lamar Jackson being named first-team All-Pro, Allen becomes just the third player ever to win MVP and miss out on first team. The only other two are Steve McNair, who was co-MVP, the first-teamer Peyton Manning in 2003, and John Elway, who missed out on first team to Joe Montana in 1987. Wow. Mina, you're a voter. Dan's a voter. Any issues with the voters on this one? Allen winning MVP over Lamar Jackson.
I mean, look, I voted for Lamar. The votes are public. We were split on this show. It was a dead heat. It was extremely close. The only wrong take on MVP is that it was obvious between these two, because it was not obvious and it went down to the wire. I will say the reason why I voted for Lamar really quickly: 4,000 passing yards, 900 rushing yards, first quarterback to ever do that. Almost broke the record for passer rating. Played a harder slate of defenses, and then in their head-to-head matchup came out on top. So that was the difference for me. I know with Bills, people point to Allen being more valuable maybe because of the pieces around him. I do think people underrate how good that offensive line is. That was another thing I took into consideration. But like I said, this was very close.
There's 5 guys worthy of MVP this year.
Yeah.
One won it. Lamar could have won it. Joe Burrow could have won it. Jamar Chase could have won it. Saquon Barkley could have won it. So I think that I voted for Josh because I thought Josh had, with those guys that had those great seasons, he had one of those great seasons with the least amount of support around him in comparison. That's why I voted for Josh.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at this, I thought Lamar was the MVP this year for many of the reasons that Mina mentioned, but I have no issue with Josh Allen winning this award. He was amazing the entire season. I felt like he elevated his team, and a lot of it was about what he didn't do as much as what he did do. He pulled back on some of the things that cost his team wins in other seasons, and I believe that's as much as a progression and a testament to his game as the statistics are.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. We need to obviously announce that it's a quarterback award. I thought Saquon Barkley was the most valuable player in the NFL this year. And it's because of how much he changed the dynamic of how this offense looked. I know a lot of people point to 2 years ago, this was a dynamic offense. The running backs went over 1,000 yards. Not like that. And I think he is the reason. I believe this in my heart of hearts. If Eagles walk away from this game, it'll be because of Saquon Barkley, and he hasn't been stopped every time we saw him step on the field.
Let me give you the craziest stat. He's got 20 touchdowns this year. The average length of those 20 touchdowns, 32 yards.
That's insane. That is so all right, he did win Offensive Player of the Year. And he did
ain't enough, Boogie.
Come away with the Comeback Player of the Year. But, man, it just speaks to the quality of the NFL this season. Now, here's a look at the class of 2025 Hall of Famers.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp. It's the first time 4 or fewer people were elected since 2005 when Dan Marino, Steve Young, Benny Friedman, and Fritz Pollard were called to the Hall. Keep an eye on when Eli Manning gets in, because it'll happen at some point. The fans are out here and ready to go. You see a lot of Eagles fans. The Chiefs fans are here, too, and looking to avenge their loss to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. And if they're going to pull it off, their no-huddle offense is sure to be part of the plan, of course. Now, the Eagles have been very effective when they go no-huddle. They're top 6 in the league in yards per play, EPA per play, and QBR. So how much should the Eagles go no-huddle on Sunday? Well, let's dive into that. But, Dan, what makes the no-huddle offense so effective in Philly? Let's go there first.
Because they jump you with it. If they run a play and they get a first down, it's coming. I mean, that's kind of the way that they go about it. And the thing is, they can run the same exact play. They'll call a word at the line of scrimmage like Xerox or something, meaning copy that play. Or Jalen's growth this year has been, I could change the play at the line of scrimmage. We've seen that on some third down. So you got to imagine, okay, Philadelphia gets a third down conversion. Sometimes it'll be in the pass game, and they're getting to the line of scrimmage, and it's their ability to, Jalen, do we like the look? Do we not? And here's the thing. You can see oftentimes they're snapping that ball right around 15 seconds. I just want to be very clear. You can still communicate to your quarterback up until 15 seconds on the play clock. So if they see something as a coaching staff, they can check to it. And Jalen's ability to get them in and out of the right play. And as a defense, Marcus, RC, you guys are in this no huddle. You've run 3 plays in 50 seconds. Everybody's paying attention to a player like Saquon Barkley. Then Jalen can be that ball carrier. And the way that they can get into their potential quarterback run, those zone reads, the different variables of it, that's how they hit some of their chunk runs. And again, I go back to the NFC title. Buffalo had success with that in the second half on 2 drives. I think it's a huge part of the game.
would be immensely concerned about this if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs defense because, and you alluded to this with the Bills game, this is something that they have struggled with all year long, particularly the run out of no huddle, second worst in the NFL in success rate. That's taking out garbage time, of course. 5 yards a clip. Whew. Now here comes the Philadelphia Eagles, who do it better than anyone. And to your point, it allows them to simplify things on defense. You can't sub guys in and out. Can't really disguise some of those pressures.
Just think about it like this, too. Imagine if they get a first down and Chris Jones is not on the field.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going automatic no huddle. Here comes the run game.
Yeah, I think Mamina made the biggest point is it makes you so vanilla on defense, right? There are going to be these base calls that you try to get to when they get in the hurry up. And what happens if Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts can zero in, whether it's the call, whether it's the formation defensively, and now you can continually attack that. If I'm Kellen Moore, I major in this more this week than I have any other week, especially with the way it seems as Jalen sees it from that position with getting that opportunity to get up to the line of scrimmage. And I'll say this as well. What we've seen with a lot of these teams that are taking college coaches that making them defensive coordinators is they understand no huddle. They understand spread offenses. Some of these career NFL guys don't do it as well. And Steve Spagnuolo hasn't come from a tree or come from sort of a coaching program that understands how to play against this.
100% agree, y'all. Not only do you stay vanilla, your personnel is compromised. And if they're running the same guys on the field, different formation, that's a communication that you have to have. And you may not be matched up well. You got to hit a negative play against no huddle in order to get them out of it. You got to create some kind of issue for Jalen Hurts, either on a read or you got to try to make a play in the backfield. And Spags, obviously, with these simulated pressure, can create that even when these teams go no huddle. I love the looks of trying to get these quick third downs. And obviously, you look here, you drop two guys into the vision of the quarterback. You bring it off the backside. Now, a lot of people look and say this is a blitz. It's a four-man rush.
Right.
You should be able to protect it. But what we've done is we've predicated where your protection is going to go, and we've come away from that. So I agree 100% with you all about the no huddle. You got to try to create a negative play to get the offense to slow down.
What do you think Kansas City does, though? What is the major priority when they see no huddle?
I think that when that clock gets down to 15, they change.
They change.
You know, it's almost like if you want to play the game of waiting to see what we're in, I think the ability for Kansas City to show and then quickly change calls. Now, you got to be greased on it. Quickly change calls, I think, is huge. It's also, Marcus, I agree. I think second down is the down of the game for Philadelphia's offense. If they're good on second down, they're going to be just fine. But if they change or run a stunt or create a TFL and it's 3rd and 6, Kansas City will
That's when you
do
can have
whatever
your
they
way.
want on defense.
You brought up when Chris Jones is off the field. We've seen that happen notably this season. It's
Teams go
happened in the
after
past,
him.
but
Teams go after him for it.
I think that's key when you think about how all this is going to factor in. You think about how many times they're going to identify, look, he's off. You got to take advantage.
There's someone that's going to be sitting in the press box only to do that. To understand what personnel is on the field and where they have the advantage. This is going to come down to people as well. As much as it is about scheme, the X's and O's, and the plays that are called, it's who can win. To Marcus's point, you got to win on 1st and 2nd down and set this team back. But it's the same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles.
And to RC's point, Boogie, when Chris Jones is not on the field, you change philosophically offensively. Like, we have a lot of things that we can do.
We're running the ball every play. A lot of times you would think throw the ball.
Exactly. You go right at them. But
a lot of teams would. This one shouldn't.
They
100%.
Yep.
100%.
Man, okay, so many interesting matchups here, but the other great thing about being here is just the culture, the food.
That's awesome. That was a night.
Listen, we didn't even know what was happening.
We'll wait on this man.
That button's screaming right now.
Let me
He's
out.
hungry.
My buttons are screaming. All right, we're still waiting, but you did something really special for us, a big surprise. It was called the Second Line.
Yes.
And we all got to dancing, and we couldn't help. We couldn't stop. It was so cool.
It was my workout.
It was.
I'm actually shocked.
I need another one.
I was shocked I was able to dance because I ate so much.
Yep.
Dan sort of danced.
Dan ate more than anybody.
Laura, and Swag got down.
We're getting down.
Me and Mina booty
No other
bumped, and I knocked out the building.
A booty bump between the two of us.
We got carried away, okay?
One person
Got
goes,
carried
it's
away.
just
Like a
physics.
trampoline.
It's like when you see Derrick Henry knock down a little DB. That's what it looked like.
But I was tired. Like, I was actually.
I was sore.
I felt like I worked out.
I sweated.
That was a 20-minute
and
high
it's good that we
intensity
did that because
interval
we're going to
training.
eat some more. This is a king cake. Super 8. Look at this.
Yeah,
it's
give me
gorgeous.
that. Give me that.
All right?
I can do
it's
this
like
easily.
Sparkly.
Yo.
I'm gonna try to find the baby.
Actually, so pretty.
Oh wait. Now listen, you gotta. What
It's
happens with
already
the baby
cut.
though? If I
You
get
got to buy the
baby?
next one?
I gotta buy the next one.
Hey, can I eat this?
Wait, I got the baby.
Me
I
too.
got the baby on one try.
That happened so fast.
Hey, Dan, y'all not going to slide it down here, though?
Little
Please
green
say the baby. I can't stand when y'all give Dan
What's it
food
mean?
first because he touched every piece of it.
Yes.
I know.
You know us white folk
that's
are.
good.
That's my dog.
White
that's
people
good.
be like, you eating that?
Hey,
I'll just grab a
what should
piece.
I do with this
Thank you.
baby?
Yeah, what do you do with the baby?
It's an
You just
Eagles
keep it?
baby.
You rock the
Ooh,
baby.
good.
You got to buy
I'm gonna
one
rock
next year,
it.
buddy.
It's so cute. Okay, I'll buy you a cake
Is it
next
good
year.
luck?
No.
It's really good.
Good.
She's
Okay.
good.
That's good luck.
Lord
Mina.
have mercy. All right, listen.
But the fact that
back
NFL
to
Live
business.
has turned into a Food Network show,
Listen,
Marcus's dream.
we love it. All right,
Can we do this every week?
we got to get back to the game.
Hold on.
As much as we want to keep eating, but that's what happens here in New Orleans. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Travis
I want to do this
Kelce
every week, though.
and how important he is to this Chiefs offense. Travis Kelce has continued to be clutch in so many big moments. We know what he's done in the postseason. We know how important he is to Patrick Mahomes. Here he is this week talking about facing this great Phillies defense.
This is going to be the best defense we play all year. They play so well together. Their secondary, you can tell they're all on the same page. They all understand their rules. You know, a lot of zone coverage, but when it comes down to playing man, they're very physical. So it's going to be our biggest challenge yet. And I haven't even talked about the D-line yet. Their D-line is one of the best in the league. It's going to be a fun challenge, man. I love going up against the best. It's why I play the game. And sure enough, we got two Goliaths going at it at the Super Bowl, man.
You know, you hear people say they love going up against the best, and sometimes you feel like, maybe they're just saying that. I actually firmly believe that Travis Kelce relishes in these moments. Nina, how do you expect Philly to try to keep Kelce in check?
Well, it was interesting to hear him talking about how the Eagles play a lot of zone coverage because playing zone coverage against Travis Kelce, he's going to eat that up like we ate up that king cake. Marcus,
Demolished.
one thing I think is important, and this is from having watched him in playoff games over the years, when he is limited, and it doesn't happen a very lot, it often starts at the line of scrimmage. You have to get hands on him. You have to get physical and stop his releases, interrupt some of those timing routes. I think Cooper DeJean is the player who stands out to me as being capable of that. He has the play strength, the physicality, as well as the short area quickness to recover if Travis slips by him. Easier said than done, but it starts early in the play.
MK, I love that you brought up play strength because some of this is about physicality with Travis Kelce. Obviously, we talk about how crafty he is in space and when you're playing man-to-man. Do you remember last year when we were looking forward to the Kyle Hamilton matchup?
Yeah.
And Kansas City made it a point? If you're going to play man-to-man, Travis Kelce will take advantage of you. I think it's a combination of things. I think in zone, you have to be aware of where he is in space and hope that your defensive line can get Pat to try to get the ball out of his hands. I think you got to bracket him at times, play an inside out on him and almost like a matchup zone. And then when you do go man, to your point, get to him early and stay attached because it's going to be an out route and an option. It's going to be either one. It's not going to be downfield. It's not going to be anything to press you for a big play. It's a catch and a run after catch. I'll be interested to see. I think Cooper DeJean is going to be the guy. But more importantly, make sure Zach Bond gets a bump on him.
Yeah.
Make sure Oren Burks is in space so he's not a clear path runner throughout your zone. It'll be interesting to see how they play it, but I think the physicality, to your point, needs to be early.
With somebody like a Kelce, when you hit him as many times as possible, do we see that actually affect his game? Because he's such a tough physical player himself.
No, go ahead.
It doesn't affect his game in terms of over the course of the game. It's more in the individual play. Can you hit him just enough to disrupt that timing?
That's all
what
it
matters.
is.
Yeah.
That's all it is, okay? Because the rapport that he has with Patrick Mahomes doesn't need to be communicated.
Yeah.
The only way you stop him is you don't allow him to be where Pat knows he's going to.
You know, we did that Kansas City game, the divisional round, and there were times in the game early on where Kelce was frustrated. He wasn't being targeted that much, and then Mahomes ends up going to the ground, throwing him a touchdown pass. I mean, it's just crazy.
There's no defense for that.
The creativity that happens. All right, let's talk about that Eagles zone defense a little bit more because it will be a big factor in this game. It's been incredible this season. Philly has allowed the fewest yards per play, second best EPA per play, and the fifth best QBR in the league. Let's stay on this for a minute. Dan and RC. Ryan, how would you attack that Eagles secondary if you were Andy Reid?
Well, I think the first thing, it has to be movement, right? You don't want to be stationary against this defense. You look at the way that they communicate, how they pass things off. You have to make some of that communication happen pre-play. And then after that, too, it's also finding spaces inside the zone. They do such a great job with run-throughs and crossers and runovers. It's going to be about settling in those zones, giving Patrick a target to hit, and second play opportunities. If Patrick is able to create, Dan, where we can see Travis kind of get away, Juju get away, Xavier get away, and I think DeAndre Hopkins could become a huge part in this game.
I think a big thing, we've heard a lot of people talk about man match or zone match, this week. Let's make sure people at home understand that. Zone, RC, you guys would just drop back, right? You have an area no matter what. Zone match means like you guys have an area right, but then if somebody on my offense comes into your area,
here's the other thing though. Let's not confuse it with fire zone match, right? Because fire zone, you're bringing an extra person. This is just the Eagles doing an excellent job of when you become their guy,
I'm the receiver, I come in your area.
They make sure they latch on to players, especially when you think about plaster drills and run-throughs where you normally get to voided zone.
Right, and I think it'll be interesting because if we think about the Eagles defense, that zone-centric defense, the Chiefs are a bunch of feel offensive players. Kelsey doesn't run routes. He just runs to area. Juju Smith-Schuster runs to area. And so I think if you're Philadelphia, that's a little bit of concern because you're playing against an offense got a bunch of guys that kill zone. But if you're going to play man, I think the problem for Philly is then I'm just going to hunt Blankenship and find the matchup.
100%. And I think that started to reveal itself against Zach Ertz and the Washington Commanders. Every time it was a third or a fourth down, got to have it.
And you were
played.
playing man.
They attacked that matchup. And they attacked them any way they wanted to. They were able to beat them to leverage every single opportunity. And so if I'm the Kansas City Chiefs, isn't that what it becomes? If I'm Patrick Mahomes, I get to the line of scrimmage. I understand and see man by using movement.
Motion or
now I go attack 32.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's the kind of the chess match between Vic Fangio and Andy Reid and Matt Nagy is, can we as an offense gather the information of what your coverage is and then get us into the ideal kind of pass concepts that puts us at an advantage and you kind of at a disadvantage.
And I think the biggest thing is this. It's about Patrick Mahomes. And I know everyone trusts him 100% to identify the matchup and then take advantage of it.
Amen.
As you guys know, Mahomes has 93 touchdown passes versus zone coverage in his career. That's the most in the NFL as far back as new on NFL Live from Adam Schefter. The Eagles are listing Brandon Graham as questionable Sunday. I had the same reaction, Mina. Graham tore his tricep in Week 12 versus the Rams. He stated this will be the last game of his career, whether he plays or not. Jalen Carter also listed as a full participant at today's practice for the second straight day. And Jalen Carter is super important to this team, obviously. He's been doubled on 279 of his pass rushes this season, 37 more times than the next closest player, Kobe Turner, with 242. Here's Adam Schefter with the latest on Carter.
He was sick, but he was back to being a full participant in practice yesterday, and he is going to be out there. And I was told, to use that word, he's fine, not an issue. And again, the fact that he was upgraded from limited practice earlier in the week to full practice now tells you that he will be out there. Now, I can confirm, I did see him at the lunch the other day.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it was food poisoning. I felt fine from what we ate, but I think Jalen Carter is all right. No issues. He will be out there, and he will be starting on Sunday.
I kind of wanted to know what the answer to that was. What did you have for lunch? Swagoo's shaking the hands down there. You're about to see what Swag's got coming for us next. But, RC, how do you expect Carter to impact the game on Sunday?
Well, first off, how many times can Vic Fangio get him in a one-on-one situation? Is it simulated pressure? Can you bring an extra backer? Some of those tackle-in twists when both he and Nolan Smith are on the same side of the ball. Also, some of the times that he fakes it and comes back to the one-on-one. It's going to be how can he put pressure in the middle of the pocket so Patrick Mahomes can't step up and out. If he can do that. And the other thing is the physicality in the run game. What's been underrated was Kareem Hunt last week. Even Patrick Mahomes using his legs. How does Jalen Carter invert the line of scrimmage and make those plays difficult?
I think it's a good point about trying to get him one-on-ones, but I will say this, even if he is doubled, and he is doubled a great deal, the Eagles' defensive line has grown so much this year that they have guys who can take advantage of that. We've been talking about Milton Williams on the inside, but his tag team partner, Nolan Smith, over the last few weeks, both, by the way, as a pass rusher and a run defender, he has become a dog out there. And I think for Kansas City, you have to actually answer some difficult questions in terms of, regardless of how they deploy Carter, are we comfortable leaving Trey Smith with him one-on-one so that Creed Humphrey can help Mike Caliendo against Milton Williams? Or do we want to give double help? I think, Dan, that's going to be something they're going to have to feel as the game goes along. If Jalen Carter is dominating Trey Smith, then you give him more help.
I think the number one question the Chiefs have to answer is, do they feel okay Juwan Taylor on Nolan Smith one-on-one?
Yeah.
He gonna be.
I think Trey Smith will fight and hold his own against Jalen Carter. I think Nolan Smith's the key to the game defensively.
Necessarily about getting the sack or getting the hit on Patrick Mahomes. It's making him feel it.
No doubt.
Because this season, when he's felt the pressure, he hasn't been as good.
And I would say the biggest difference is, it used to be you compress the pocket, Patrick steps up, chunk play. Yeah. That's not really been the case this year. The interior is not as structurally sound. He is not making those same types of plays when he steps up in the pocket. So I think you feel good about compressing it.
I always remember sitting with Brandon Beane, the general manager of Buffalo, when they acquired Von Miller, and asking him the why. And he was like, we have to get 15 on the ground. Yeah. And so while Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are sensational Williams, they got to get him on the ground. Getting to him, putting a hand on him, sure. They have to find a way to get, because he kills teams on third down in the playoffs with his legs.
Mina, quickly, can they use Jalen Carter like the Chiefs use Chris Jones?
I think you waste him out there.
What Ryan was describing was a little bit of, I think situationally, yes. But it's not like Jones where he's that chess piece to try to manipulate protections. You're moving him inside and outside. They're pretty straightforward with their rush. Yeah. But situationally, there might be some moments here and there where
And the other piece is what Mina mentioned, though. You don't have to move Jalen Carter like that because you have other people on the line of scrimmage that can win. For the Kansas City Chiefs, it's Chris Jones and George Karlaftis. Other than that, you're trying to find ways to put pressure on the quarterback.
Just a who's who of defensive guys, specifically D-lines. It makes you so excited about this game from so many different angles. And we'll get you ready for all of it. Kick off your Super Bowl Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern, with a special 4-hour postseason NFL countdown from the Superdome in New Orleans. After the game, we'll have NFL Prime Time with Boomer and Booger. I saw Boom last night. He's really ready for this. Can't wait. All the highlights and post-game interviews. Cue the band. Swagoo, what's coming up next?
Y'all know what time it is, man. It's B&B coming up. We consume a lot of space. We consume a lot of food. We consume a lot of things. So in that vein, I got to give a shout out to my man, the Refrigerator Perry. Years ago in the Superdome, Super Bowl, the big fella getting in the end zone. This is a Hall of Fame B&B moment. B&B about to come up. It's a couple good ones. Stay tuned. Y'all know what time it is. It's B&B. We employed a band today to get this thing popping. Y'all know every time I get to the Super Bowl, I got to show mad love, and I always do something special for the hometown. But first, let's start with a B&B we very familiar with. His name is Chris Jones, number 95. He's made so many plays in these moments. Look at the big fella. First of all, I baptize you in the name of the Holy Ghost, and I go get your quarterback. Get the ball out of his hands, Chris, in the run game. We knocking people back because that's how we act. Chris Jones, number 95. Keep an eye out for him. They move him around the D-line. Where he at? Where he gonna go? We big, but we can hide. That's what Chris Jones does at times in each and every play. Secondly, y'all know this young man, fresh out the University of Georgia. His name is Jalen Carter. Lil Wayne used to say, Eagle, Carter, man. That's who he is. He got to get through the center of the pocket. This is where Patrick Mahomes makes people pay. But Jalen Carter got something to say about that. He's been making game-changing plays. He's been knocking people back. He's been picking quarterbacks up and holding them like lovely little babies. I love Jalen Carter. He's a baller. It don't matter if it's rain, sleet, or snow. Jalen Carter must go. And last but not least, I want to shout out the New Orleans Saints while I'm in the crib. Y'all remember my man Kalen Saunders. This will go down as a B&B Hall of Fame moment. That's the tackle for loss, but that ain't what we're talking about. Look at us reach out with one hand and stab the football. Get to the sideline and keep it towards the sideline. Look at the high knees. He played running back in high school. That's what we all start off as. Running backs are tight ends, and then we eat our way out of the position, and we become defensive linemen, but we still got the athletic skills. That's been big B&B. Shout out to New Orleans. I'm going to be more of a B&B after I bust down these beignets.
Let's go! There's nothing quite like B&B, but B&B in New Orleans, in your home state. That was special.
Marcus, you over there.
Get over here. Get over here.
No, that's not right, Marcus. He said you're here. Mina's on this side.
Let's do a switch. Come on now.
It's the same way we sit, guys.
Come on, everybody. Get in your spots.
It is?
All right, let's focus. We got to make some game picks here. Here's the game prediction according to the numbers. The Eagles have a 56% chance to win this game, according to ESPN Analytics. The average margin for Philly in the simulations was 2.2 points. So that's the computers, but let's see what the people say. It's time to pick the game. RC, you first.
Well, I'm first.
Take your time.
First is the worst.
Okay.
Second is...
Oh,
what?
Stop it, Daniel.
Weird.
No, I'm a person that likes punishment. I like to do things the difficult way. I love adversity, and that's why I'm picking the Eagles. Listen, I think that the Eagles have the better roster. I believe they have a way and a style of play that can lead to winning this football game. Am I scared of 15? Hell yeah. But I'm going with the team that I believe is the best top to bottom.
All right, Mina. Excuse me. Marcus. Marcus, you're next.
Make a pick, bruh.
It's Philly for me, too.
Oh.
Y'all have heard me say it 1,000 times. I think Saquon Barkley is that good. I think in order to beat championship teams, championship level guys, you got to have a lightning rod type player that can step up in the moment. And that's been the Chiefs. The Chiefs have been the playmakers to make the plays in critical times of all of these Super Bowls and AFC championships. I think this year to be Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
I'm going Philly.
All right. Go ahead, Mina. Who are you taking and why?
Nobody boo me. I'm taking the Chiefs. Listen, this Eagles defense makes you work for every yard. You got to play mistake-free football. Patrick Mahomes doesn't make mistakes. Steve Spagnuolo is the best big game play caller I've frankly ever seen. I think he's going to call a brilliant game against Jalen Hurts with some of his pressures.
All right, this is interesting for Dan because Dan has a family of Eagles fans.
Yeah, I've made two really good decisions in my life. Really good ones. Accepting Jesus and marrying my wife. My wife's a Philly girl. My kids are Philly kids. I've made one really bad decision in life. I've picked against Patrick Mahomes twice.
I was wondering where you were going with that.
I am not picking against Patrick Mahomes again.
Wow.
So you're choosing Patrick Mahomes over your family.
The one Super Bowl Patrick has lost, he went 0 for 3 in the red zone with the turnover. All the other times that they win, they score touchdowns in the red zone. I think it will come down to their offense, Philly's defense, in the red zone, and they get it done.
Wow, Dan. Okay, this is interesting, too. Dan has picked 20-17 on every game pick this season. That's his score again. Finished 20-17. Super Bowl 36 right here in New Orleans, where Tom Brady took home his first title.
Wow.
He's got the voodoo going.
This ain't gonna be 2017.
All right, I think it's my turn. As you can see right there, I'm picking the Chiefs, too. Okay?